connection with heaven, with the earth, with the sun, and with the moon. So it is. Hey guys, McDavish here. Today, I wanted to talk to you about ceremonial magic. Ceremonial magic involves a group of traditions that usually belong to the Western esoteric school. One of the most famous would be the Golden Dawn. Many of you probably have heard of it. Now, ceremonial magic is powerful, it works, it has a long history, and it is based on old sources. So I think ceremonial magic is a great tradition of magic to learn about. Now, it's mostly based on Hermetic teachings, alchemy, the Kabbalah, grimoires from the medieval time. Um, Today, it includes a lot of the Enochian, which would be created by John Dee in the Elizabethan period, and has lots of great stuff, combining visualization with gesture and sound to create ritual. That's something that seems, like we probably do that, but trust me, learning ceremonial magic is gonna help you in all of your magic. Now, there's a problem, and the problem is that for pagans like me, sometimes ceremonial magic can seem a little bit uncomfortable because since it focuses so heavily on Western traditions from the medieval period and Kabbalah and Enochian, there's a lot of abrahamic uh, imagery and ways of thinking and things that are in there that sort of are off-putting to pagans because we don't want to speak Hebrew. We want to speak like Old Norse or Irish or Welsh or some language like that is from the ancestors of the cultures that we look up to. So Kabbalah, it's connected to Kabbalah, and that just brings a lot of Abrahamic stuff in themes. So it made it difficult for me to get into these practices at first, and I think that a lot of people have difficulty accepting things like using Christian and Jewish God names and the Hebrew alphabet and biblical prayers and stuff like that. So, the truth is that this doesn't have to be the case because ceremonial magic is pagan. Now, in the time of Alexander the Great, when he founded Alexandria in Egypt, and it became a cultural center for all of the different learned people from the known world to come and gather and learn and compare their traditions and their discoveries. Now, there was a character in Alexandria called Philo of Alexandria, and he was a Hebrew, an Israelite or a Jew, whatever he would be called at that time. I'm not sure. I think Judean. But Philo, he has writings that have come down to us from that period in Alexandria when he was there with all the other scholars and they were all comparing notes. Now, Philo is the beginning, the earliest sources of what we might call Kabbalah. And he is writing this in the city of Alexandria, where he has all these different scholars from different nations, wizards and gurus and the like. So he writes down that Kabbalah, and then it is continued through the medieval period by Jewish scholars and rabbis. So ultimately, the Kabbalah is not entirely Abrahamic. It's based on magical principles that were shared and learned in the city of Alexandria. So, the fundamentals of ceremonial magic are not Abrahamic. Because of this, we don't have to feel uncomfortable about using them. We don't have to use Hebrew. We don't have to use Abrahamic names of God. We can make our own ceremonial magic for us pagans, from whatever tradition that you practice. So, what are some of the important parts of ceremonial magic for beginners? The very first exercise in ceremonial magic that you'll have to learn is the Kabbalistic cross. Now, the Kabbalistic cross, it involves a biblical prayer in Hebrew and a visualization and some intonations and gesture. Basically, you're crossing yourself, like in the Catholic Church, okay? But you are focusing up to this divine power in heaven and drawing it down into yourself, connecting it to the power of the earth, and then sending it out in either direction, always into infinity, basically. So, one of the fundamental things in all magical traditions is this idea of the three worlds. Now, there might be other models with other levels of worlds, but always there's going to be something that relates to the three worlds, which is the power above, the power below, and earth here in the middle. So, in the Kabbalistic cross, what's basically going on is you are connecting to the powers of heaven and earth. Now, when you put the arms on the cross, that is representing the two pillars in Kabbalah. And it is on the tree of life, there's actually 3 pillars, but you are the pillar in the center, and the 2 pillars are on the other side of you. It is what you would say the right hand and the left hand, but that might give you the wrong idea. Sometimes people think weird things about that, but basically the right hand is associated with the masculine, yang, active power, and the left hand with the feminine, which is yin, or receptive. Okay, so this is acknowledging and connecting you to these 2 halves of yourself. Okay, so you're connecting to heaven, to earth, and to the 2 sides of your body, which are including the 2 sides of your brain, even though they switch. Right hand, left brain, left hand, right brain. So the Kabbalistic cross, which is the simplest exercise in ceremonial magic, can be performed without following along the steps and repeating the words, saying this biblical prayer in Hebrew. You don't have to do that, even though ceremonial magic will oftentimes say you have to follow the tradition. You have to follow the tradition. You just have to do it. It's going to work. We promise. But a lot of people don't want to do that. So really, what you want to do is you want to focus on connecting to the powers of heaven and earth and acknowledging the two sides of yourself, yin and yang, that spiral up the tree of life on your spine. A lot of you might be familiar from witchcraft or druid traditions or just any kind of neo-pagan tradition with the tree of life meditation, where you visualize yourself as a tree and you send your roots down into the earth, and then you reach your branches up into heaven, and you're having this exchange of energy. This is the Kabbalistic cross. You are connecting yourself to heaven and earth, the powers of above and below. Okay? Yin and yang. So in this tree visualization, we are performing a pagan version of the Kabbalistic cross. Grounding to the earth, connecting to the divine power above. After you learn the Kabbalistic cross in ceremonial magic, they'll move you on to pentagram rituals. Usually, they would call this the LBPR, the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram. But there's a summoning as well as a banishing. So there's two forms. It's really just a pentagram ritual in summoning mode or banishing mode. Now, in ceremonial magic, you do the Kabbalistic cross, then you do the pentagram ritual. And this is like when you call the quarters of a magic circle, okay? They go around to each cardinal direction, and they draw a summoning or banishing pentagram in the air in front of them while they're visualizing the pentagram being drawn in light. And they intone a divine name into that pentagram. The regular ceremonial magicians use different variants of the divine names of God from the Bible. So this is like I was saying, this is what turns a lot of us pagans off about this kind of practice. But we don't have to worry about that, because what's going on? They're just calling the quarters. Okay? So you have the Kabbalistic cross, which is just the tree of life meditation. You have the ritual of the pentagrams, which is a great way of calling the quarters. And you can use the skills from these complex, detailed rituals to improve your own magical practice. So the big thing about ceremonial magic is that it's combining visualization with gesture and voice. When you are calling the quarters, you might want to put in the gesture of drawing the pentagram, the visualization of the pentagram, and the intonation into the pentagram. You don't have to use a pentagram. You can use other symbols that you feel represent the elemental powers to you, but you want to keep it simple. If you start trying to draw too complex stuff, it's going to become harder to visualize it, and truthfully, that's probably going to be detrimental to the practice. So use the pentagrams, learn the ritual, use the pentagrams, but you have to figure out your own divine sounds that you're going to vibrate into those pentagrams. I would say either to look for something within your tradition that is associated with the four elements, or something that is associated with the four directions, and find your own divine sounds that you can vibrate into those pentagrams. I'm going to, in the next few videos, I'm going to do some book reviews, and I'm going to show you a couple of books that can help you with this, and that have actually already made their own systems based on ceremonial magic. Now, the banishing ritual of the pentagram is to clear space and to disconnect any attachments that you have to your own aura and to clear your aura, okay? So ceremonial magicians practice this ritual daily, sometimes twice daily. And you do banishing and summoning, but you don't do them at the same time necessarily. You do which one you want to do. Banishing will clear everything from the space and from your own aura, but summoning will bring in the powers of the elements into your aura, okay? So ceremonial magicians practice that daily, and that's Kabbalistic cross, pentagram ritual, Kabbalistic cross. So if you use the practices of ceremonial magicians, it will make your magic more powerful. It will give you an experience that grows over time. That's why they practice it daily, because it's cumulative. The effects are cumulative. Your experience of it will grow over time. You just have to find the right way to do the ritual that you're comfortable with, okay? Another great thing that is a little farther on in ceremonial magic is the middle pillar exercise. The middle pillar exercise is when you are activating psychic centers within your own body, basically what are chakras, okay? Now, most ceremonial magic traditions use Kabbalah for this, and they base their psychic centers on the Sephiroth of the Kabbalistic tree of life. But some use the spheres of the planets, the planetary spheres. So you have psychic centers in your body that you're activating with the planetary energies. And the 7 planetary energies, that's great for pagans, because the planets are manifestations of the gods in many ways. So you can do the middle pillar with the planetary spheres, and you will have a very powerful exercise that you can use to connect you with the divine powers of our solar system. Again, that's going to be a lot about intonation, gesture, and visualization, okay? Now, these practices you're going to have to learn on your own, but I will give you some books that will help you out. In the next few videos, like I said, I'm going to review some books on ceremonial magic from a pagan perspective. So it's systems that are reworked out of ceremonial magic to fit the pagan context. And I think that they are very powerful systems, and that no matter which one you practice, it's going to give you skills over time that are going to deepen your connection to the divine and increase your experience of your own magical practice, okay? So go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the future with those book reviews, so you can start digging into ceremonial magic on your own as a pagan without having to worry about Hebrew and biblical stuff and the whole Judeo-Christian worldview that a lot of us don't feel comfortable with. So, I'm Fox McTavish. I'll see you guys next time. One more thing. Remember what Ross Nichols said. Ritual is poetry in the world